Another article, this one from Science Alert. Human ancestors nearly went extinct almost 1 million years ago, precisely 900,000 years ago. Genomic data from 3,154 modern humans suggest the population was reduced from approximately 100,000 to just 1,280 breeding individuals around 900,000 years ago. That's a jaw-dropping population decline of 98.7 that lasted 117,000 years and could have brought humanity to extinction. 100,000 to 1,200. The fact that we're here today and so numerous is evidence that it wasn't. But the results, according to a team led by geneticist Haiping Li of the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Yaihu Xuan Pan of East China Normal University in China, would explain a curious gap in the human fossil record in the Pleistocene. The gap in the African and Eurasian fossil records can be explained by this bottleneck in the early Stone Ages as chronologically, says anthropologist Giorgio Manzing of Sapienza University of Rome in Italy. It coincides with this proposed time period of significant loss of fossil evidence. The gap in the African and Eurasian fossil records can be explained by this bottleneck in the early Stone Age as chronologically. Coincides with this proposed time period of significant loss of fossil evidence. And you can see right here just a crazy amount of people on the brink of losing it all. Population bottlenecks as significant reduction in group numbers are not uncommon. When a species is devastated by an event such as war, famine, or climate crisis, the resulting drop in genetic diversity can be traced through the progeny of the survivors. This is how we know that there was almost a human population bottleneck in the Northern Hemisphere far more recently, some 7,000 years ago. If you listen to Joe Rogan, you've probably heard about some of this stuff in the past. The further back in time you want to look, however, the more challenging it becomes to tease out a meaningful signal. For this latest analysis, the research team developed a new method called the fast infinitesimal time coalescence process to circumvent the accumulation of numerical errors usually associated with trying to unravel these past events. They analyzed the genomic data of 3,154 people from around the world, from 10 African and 40 non-African populations, looking at how gene lineages have diverged over time. Their results showed a significant population bottleneck from about 930,000 to 813,000. Which saw a current genetic diversity loss of up to 65.85%. As to what caused the bottleneck, we won't be 100% sure what all the contributing factors may have been, but there was one major event taking place at the same time that could have played a role. The mid-Pleistocene transition, during which Earth's glaciation cycles dramatically changed. It's possible that climate turmoil could have produced conditions that were not kind to the human population scrabbling for survival at the time, resulting in famine and conflict that reduced population numbers further. Let's keep going. All right. Yeah, the bottleneck seems to have contributed to another interesting feature of the human genome. The fusion of two chromosomes to form chromosome 2. Humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. All other hominids alive today, consisting of the great apes, have 24. The formation of chromosome 2 seems to have a speciation event that encouraged humans on a different evolutionary path. Now, what caused this? What caused this? Who knows? Maybe it was aliens who came down and changed our DNA, or maybe it was just good old luck of the draw. I do not know. These findings are just the start, Lee says. Future goals with this knowledge aim to paint a more complete picture of human evolution during this early to middle Pleistocene transition period, which will in turn continue to unravel the mystery that is early human ancestry and evolution. Interesting stuff. And let's talk about that for a little bit. One thing that I do want to stress, particularly in this podcast, especially, is just the luck that we have living here today, not just because of this event that happened about 900,000 years ago, but because of all the events that have passed that have led us up to this point. When I see these stories of massive extinction events that almost took out our entire population, our entire species, hundreds of thousands of years ago, far, far removed from what we could even imagine in today's society. When we look at that and we try and contextualize it to our everyday lives, it's very hard to do. I mean, I can't imagine what life would have been like 5,000 years ago on this planet, let alone 900,000. And to think that I'm somehow a descendant from one of those people, most likely, and the fact that my bloodline has survived long enough for me to be here to kind of spread this message. I think we should all be, whether life's going great, whether life's sucking. And there's a lot of people on both sides of that spectrum. There still should be some semblance of, I'm happy to be alive. And there's many people who aren't happy to be alive. If we're going to be real and if we're going to be honest with each other, there are those people. And I've been one of those people in the past before. And maybe in the future, I'll speak on my own struggles with depression, anxiety, self-doubt, self-hatred, all those things. But I'm not going to talk about that right now because I want to talk about the feeling that I see or what I feel when I read these stories. When I see them pop up on Instagram or on TikTok, I feel a sense of gratitude that I'm able to live in a time where we're able to figure this stuff out, figure out what's going on in the world, where I'm not in 1603 and I don't know what's going on. I think I know what's going on. And maybe today there is some aspect to that. I think that 900,000 years ago that this actually happened. Who knows to say if it's 850,000 versus 900,000. Anyways, the goal of these kind of early stories was for me to realize just how lucky we are. We are incredibly lucky to be on a planet which has the abilities to support life, but also a planet which has a long track history of life, of these events where civilization was taken down to its very, very slimmest. And from those, not just humans, but different animals, different life forms rose and continue to evolve, to continue to survive, reproduce, all of these things, and brought us here today. And I'm very, very thankful that I'm here now to be able to speak to you. And hopefully one of the things that you can learn that I've learned is that we are extremely lucky and we should be extremely grateful. And you should be grateful for other people, good or bad. The fact that we're on this earth right now, on this planet floating in the middle of space, when we have no evidence that there's anybody even remotely close to having single-cell microorganisms. I'm not talking about dogs on a different planet. I'm not talking about insects. I'm not talking about bees. I'm talking about humans and civilizations that are able to create spaceships, able to put Wi-Fi in the sky, able to create cars, create planes, all of these different things that we have no evidence for, even a small minuscule of similarity to that. There's nothing that we found so far. And so I think it's all that more important to appreciate the time, appreciate the people that you have here on Earth, because it is such a privilege, even though you are going through the suffering, even though you are going through the pain of living your day-to-day life, going to a job that you hate, being in a relationship that takes way too much of your time and causes you way too much stress, bills you can't pay, family members sick. There's things that everybody's going on. And even in the darkest moments of time, there are those people who can make an argument that, man, I just wish I was dead. And to those people, I got nothing to say. Because if we're going to be real, there are people who would much rather be dead. And some of those people would have good arguments. You can think of those people right now. Maybe you know some of them who their lives are just so messed up and so out of the ordinary, so just upside down, and they feel like there's no getting out. They live in a small rural community. They're getting abused and they're abusing themselves, and they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel because there is none. Children working in salt mines all over the world where they're not getting paid anything. Slavery still going on today in this world. There are bad things that are happening. And to those people, I can understand you when you say, yeah, it's great that that life evolved on Earth and life is here on Earth. I wish I didn't have to go through this experience. And to those people, I would say, I get it. I can sympathize, but not empathize. I don't know what that feels like. And I bet if I was in that position, I would feel the exact same. And so I do hope that this early part of the podcast is a reminder to people who, from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, that there is some hope or some happiness, some feeling of completeness to know that we've been given a real opportunity to be here on Earth, whether that's a gift from whatever God you support or whether it's luck of the draw. No matter what it is, be very, very thankful for it.